The US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin flew to Alaska on Friday for a high-risk summit that promises a stern test of US President's promise to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Both leaders voiced hopes of a productive meeting, but while Trump warned he could judge it a failure after just a few minutes if Putin does not budge, the Kremlin said the two would speak for a minimum of at least 6 or 7 hours. For the Russian president, the meeting marks his first foray onto Western soil since 2022. In recent days, Russia has made deep inroads in Ukraine, taking under control of strategic locations. Unusual scenes are unfolding in Anchorage as the fleet of Russian aircraft touches down, bringing high-ranking officials, including foreign and defense ministers, along with a large press contingent. All eyes are on the city ahead of Friday's historic meeting between Putin and Donald Trump. Russia Today correspondent Igor Piskunov sends us this report.
These are quite unusual times for the Alaskan city of Anchorage, as a whole fleet of various Russian planes has arrived here carrying various top-level officials and delegations, including the Russian foreign minister and the defense minister, lots of journalists as well, and all of us are here because of the upcoming historic meeting between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. The meeting itself is scheduled to start at around 11 a.m. local time on Friday. Other sources say it could be 11:30 a.m., which would mean about 10 p.m. or 10:30 p.m. Moscow time because of the 11-hour time difference. Of course, Ukraine is expected to top the agenda. Earlier we heard from Moscow that the Americans made certain proposals which interested the Kremlin.
I've asked you to gather to provide an update on the progress of the negotiations regarding the Ukraine crisis, as well as on the bilateral talks with the Ukrainian delegation. Many of those present are already broadly aware of the situation, but I will go into more detail. That is the first point. And secondly, to outline where we stand with the current U.S. administration, which, as everyone knows well, is making, in my view, quite vigorous and sincere efforts to halt hostilities, resolve the crisis, and reach agreements that serve the interests of all parties involved in this conflict. The goal is to establish long-term conditions for peace, not only between our countries, but also in Europe and indeed the world at large, especially if we manage to reach agreements on strategic offensive arms control in the next stages.
We heard from the White House on Thursday saying that Donald Trump is keen on finding a diplomatic solution and is going to use all the available opportunities to do so. But I think it's fair to say that besides Ukraine, the two sides have a lot to discuss. There were lots of preparations for this meeting. It's been in the making for the past few months, and both Washington and Moscow have been saying that they want it to be a special one, which would lead to concrete results regarding the relationship, a very complicated one between our two countries. Of course, we'll be covering the summit extensively, bringing you all the latest details as we get them from Alaska.